Yo, YouTube, what's up with your boy, Sports and Fitness Rants? I'm back, guys. Click that like button. Subscribe to my channel. What's up, y'all? Welcome back, guys. Welcome back. Got another great video for you guys today, as usual, man. You guys know the deal on this channel. We must continue to set the record straight, stop the lies, stop the narratives, stop them from rewriting the history. And in this video, I want to talk about how Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls, they never use age as an excuse during the second three-peat. You know, oftentimes, man, we'll hear people use age. All of a sudden, now age is an excuse that people use. Oh, these guys are too young, or these guys are too old. It's always an excuse, right? And then they'll use it now to take away from Michael Jordan's greatness, right? So you'll hear oftentimes, oh, Magic Johnson was old when Michael Jordan and the Bulls beat them. Oh, the Pistons were old when Michael Jordan and the Bulls beat them. They love to use all these things to say or to, once again, excuse Michael Jordan's greatness. And we're going to talk about the Bulls because I never heard anybody using age as an excuse for Michael Jordan and the Bulls during the second three-peat when they were literally the oldest team against everyone that they played against. They were the oldest team, but no one made excuses for Michael Jordan and the Bulls. We're going to talk about in this video, guys. And I want to thank you guys, man, everyone across the world, everyone across the states has been supporting my channel. Thank you, guys. I am truly humbled, guys. I truly am, man. It really means a lot. You guys supporting me, man. Like I said, you're liking my videos, subscribing. Remember, it's never been about the money or the fame for me on this channel. I don't solicit for money. It's not what it's about, man. It's about you guys, like I said, man, sharing the content, man. Like I said, interacting, sharing your stories, sharing your thoughts with me, man. And it's all about setting the record straight, man, and standing up. That's what we can't allow these guys to continue to do this. This is why we're here. So thank you. And you guys know what to do. Turn the volume all the way up. Hit that play button. Remember, these videos are for educational purposes. And let's roll. Oh, man, it's raining out here right now, guys. It's pouring out here right now. So if you hear the rain, forgive it. I know I try to talk loudly. So, yes, guys, man, like I said, man, the age. I don't know. We know this all started with the LeBron James fans. You know, they love to use age as an excuse. But they only use it when it fits the narrative. Right? So they'll say things like, oh, LeBron James in 2007, he was only 21 years old or 22 years old. And they use age here, right? Oh, LeBron James here, he's 39 years old now, right? Now they're using it the opposite way now for LeBron James. Oh, how do you expect this guy to play 80 games? He's 39 years old. Oh, LeBron James, look what he's doing at 39 years old. And all this stuff over the last several years. Oh, LeBron James doing this at 37. LeBron James doing this at 38. Right? The same thing when he was young. Oh, LeBron James, the youngest person of this, the youngest person of that. So the LeBron James fans have always been using the age as an excuse when it fits their narrative, right? Either it supports LeBron James or it uses an excuse for LeBron James. But they've also flipped the age and tried to take away from Michael Jordan. So what do they say? We talked about this, right? Oh, the Detroit Pistons were old when the Bulls beat them in 1991. That's the LeBron James, one of their go-tos. Because once again, this was the start of Michael Jordan's Chicago Bulls championship run, the first three-peat. They had to get by those Detroit Pistons. So people want you to believe that the only reason they were eventually able to get by them is because they were old. Now, once again, I don't know what that means, what old means. Are we saying that they're old in terms of basketball years? Or are we saying they're old in terms of how many years they've been in the NBA? Because just because you're a certain age don't mean you've been in the NBA that many years. Guys come in at different ages. Some guys come in at 25 years old. Some guys come in at 19. Some guys come in at 22. So the age doesn't really add up for a lot of players. Because if you're in the league 5 seasons, but you're only 23 years old, what does that mean? That you're pretty much a veteran in the league now. But you're 23. So you might seem young, but you've already been in the league 5 seasons. So this is the thing with the age, why it don't add up. You can't use the age as an excuse because it don't go both ways. You can't use it both ways. And the Bulls, Michael Jordan, they never use an excuse during the second three-peat because people can say whatever they want about the Pistons in the first three-peat. The facts remain. No matter how you want to slice it, they were not old. Were they older than the Bulls? Absolutely. The Bulls were a younger up-and-coming team with younger guys. Right? So obviously they were younger on paper. But once again, if you look at the NBA's history, it's usually the older teams that prevail. Usually teams with more experience prevail. They're usually the teams that make the deep runs. The experienced teams. Usually. Not all the time, But usually. But experience and age don't always go hand in hand. Once again, if you come in the league younger, then you might have more experience than someone who's older than you, right? So when we think about the Bulls and them beating the Pistons were not old. The facts remain. They were all under 30, the main stars. Isaiah Thomas was 29. Dennis Rodman was 29, I believe, or 28. And Joe Dumars, I believe, was 27 years old. So they were all under 30, which is still a good young age for an NBA basketball player. You're not old at that point. And once again, guys like Joe Dumars were still in their primes. Dennis Rodman was coming off his second straight Defensive Player of the Year award in 1991. Yes, guys like Bill Laimbeer and the James Edwards and the Microwave Johnsons, the Mark Aguirres, they were a little bit older, absolutely. But the team was still a great team, which is why they were in the Eastern Conference Finals. But when we think of the Chicago Bulls and that second three-peat, and then we think about that 91 series, I want you guys to think about the 1996 Eastern Conference Finals. And I want you guys to look at the age of the Orlando Magic versus the age of the Chicago Bulls. It's literally almost identical to the ages of the Detroit Pistons and the Bulls in 1991. I believe the Detroit Pistons had an average age of 30.3 or something like that. And I believe the Bulls were an average age of 27.6 or something like that. So about a 2 or 3 year difference. When you look at the 1996 Eastern Conference Finals, the Chicago Bulls versus Orlando Magic, the age for the Orlando Magic was, I think, 27.5 or 27.3. And the age for the Bulls, I believe, was 30.5. Identical, basically, age difference between the Orlando Magic and the Chicago Bulls. Now, in that series, you guys remember, the Bulls beat them 4-0, swept them right out of there, even though the Orlando Magic were the defending Eastern Conference champions. Right? The defending Eastern Conference champions. They were in the finals in 1995. So essentially, when you think about 1991, once again, the Bulls swept the Pistons 4-0, and the Pistons were the defending Eastern Conference champions. They were in the NBA Finals the year before. They were back-to-back champions. The Orlando Magic weren't. But it's a similar scenario, except the difference was the Bulls didn't allow the younger Orlando Magic to beat them. Think of the teams. You had a Detroit Pistons team in 91, 3 Hall of Famers in their prime still. Maybe Isaiah Thomas was a little bit outside of his prime. Still very good in 1991. Dennis Rodman, Joe Dumars, Isaiah Thomas. Same thing in 96. And they were going against what? Scottie Pippen, a young Scottie Pippen, and Michael Jordan in his prime. 2 great players. Think about 96. Similar scenario. You have 3 Hall of Famers. We're not going to count Tony Kukoc in his second year in the NBA as a certified Hall of Famer from the NBA. But you had Dennis Rodman, Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, 3 Hall of Famers. And then you had, don't forget, Pippen was older at this point. Michael Jordan was older. Dennis Rodman was much older at this point. And then you had 2 young stars up and coming, Penny Hardaway, Shaquille O'Neal, with great role players around them, like the 91 Bulls. Guys like Nick Anderson and Dennis Scott and Horace Grant. So when you think about these teams, you think about the dynamic. The Bulls and Michael Jordan never used the age excuse. No one ever said, hey, man, the Bulls are older than the Orlando Magic. I don't know how they're going to beat the Orlando Magic. No. The Bulls came out and beat the Orlando Magic down. They used that veteran savvy. They used the experience. And we all know that Michael Jordan, raising his level of play, getting his teammates prepared, always galvanizing his team, always having them ready to play. And they were able to beat the Orlando Magic handily. No excuse for Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls, even though they were older than the Orlando Magic. No excuses here. As a matter of fact, every single Eastern Conference Finals that the Bulls played in the second three-peat, they were older than their opposition. In 1997, once again, going against a much younger Miami Heat team in the Eastern Conference Finals. Similar ages. I believe the Miami Heat average age was 28 maybe, and I believe the Bulls average age was like 31.3. Right now, they're a year older, these guys. There was no excuses for the young Alonzo Mourning, the younger Tim Hardaway, some of the other players around those guys. They had some savvy veterans on that team also. Right? Coached by Pat Riley. There were no excuses. There were no excuses. Instead, they beat the Miami Heat down 4-1. That's what they did to them. No age excuse. No injury excuses. None of this stuff for the Chicago Bulls. And the same thing in 1998, guys. Same scenario. They played the Eastern Conference Finals against the Indiana Pacers, Reggie Miller, Chris Mullin, Mark Jackson. Now, yes, they were older, but the Bulls were older than them. So I believe the average age for the Indiana Pacers might have been 30, and I believe the Bulls was like 34, 33, something like that. Remember, the 98 Bulls, guys, to this day, are the oldest team, on average, to win an NBA title. The oldest team. There's no excuses. As a matter of fact, I believe the second three-peat, I believe 97 and 98, they might be two of the top 5 oldest teams to win the championship. There were no age excuses for Michael Jordan and the Bulls. Only for LeBron James and his fans do they make age excuses. Oh, and this year, LeBron James was too young. So he was too young in 2007. Was Kawhi Leonard too young in 2014? Was Magic Johnson too young in 1980? You see what I'm saying, guys? It don't add up. Other players have been great, regardless of the age. It didn't matter. The age is not an excuse. Michael Jordan never used the age as an excuse during that second three-peat. Instead, he played every single game, 304 consecutive games during that second three-peat, guys, between the regular season and the postseason. 304 consecutive games. Playing elite-level offense and defense. Leading his team. That's Michael Jordan, guys. No excuses. It didn't matter that Scottie Pippen was hobbled in the 98 finals. They were older than all the teams they played in the finals also. They were older than the Utah Jazz in 97 and 98. They were older than the Supersonics in 1996. No excuses. Was Michael Jordan too young in 91 going against Magic Johnson? No, he wasn't too young. They didn't use an excuse. They had no experience in the finals. None. Was Scottie Pippen too young? Was Horace Grant too young? No, they were prepared because they've been working all those years, grinding, going through the fire to be ready for that moment. There's no excuses. There was never excuses. LeBron James has had excuses made his entire career, and the age excuse to me doesn't make any sense. It doesn't add up. Once again, now they use it as a crush for LeBron James, but then when he has a good game, they use it to prop him up. Oh, LeBron James playing like he's 21 again. But then the next game they'll say, what do you expect from LeBron James? He's 39 years old. How do you want him to play defense? It can't be both ways. It can't be both. Once again, LeBron James can have these offensive games at 39 years old because he ain't playing like a defense. Once again, let me know when LeBron James plays all 82 games and gives the effort on the defensive end. The effort consistently at a high level. He can't do it. And it's not because of the age. Because, once again, he hasn't done it in years. In years. Michael Jordan always gave the effort. The effort should never change. Yeah, your athleticism wanes. Your ability might change. The effort should always be there. LeBron James ain't never given that effort like that. He picks and chooses when he wants to give the effort. That wasn't Michael Jordan. His age is no excuse. LeBron James always get these age excuses. Oh, Michael Jordan only beat these guys because they were old. So Magic Johnson was old in 1991, but Tim Duncan wasn't old in 2013? Make it make sense to me. It don't make any sense. Because Magic Johnson was actually still in the prime, coming off of back-to-back MVP wins. When was Tim Duncan's last MVP win? In 2013, when the Miami Heat super team beat the Spurs. Barely beat the Spurs. Right? And LeBron James fans, yeah, man, LeBron James beat the dynasty Spurs. No, he didn't. That wasn't the dynasty Spurs. Tim Duncan hadn't won an MVP in like 10 seasons, man, at that point. Magic Johnson was coming over back-to-back wins, was runner-up for the MVP in 91, but he's old. But Tim Duncan in 2013 or Tim Duncan in 2014 when he lost wasn't old. Dude hadn't won an MVP since what? 2003? And I'm not saying Tim Duncan wasn't still great, but this was not prime Tim Duncan. They try to make it seem like he was blowing Tim Duncan out and beating Tim Duncan at his best, at his peak. But then Magic Johnson's old. The Detroit Pistons were old. How about that 2011 Mavericks team? Does anybody making excuses for Dirk Nowitzki and Jason Kidd or Jason Terry? Anybody make excuse for those guys? They were pretty damn old. Once again, I think the Mavericks are the second oldest team to win a title, the second oldest team behind the Bulls. And who they beat for that title? LeBron James' super team, Miami Heat, that was way younger. So what are we going to use? The eight? Now, they were too young, you're going to say Miami? But LeBron James at his peak, wasn't he? Oh, Miami Heat, LeBron James is the greatest player of all time. Where was he in 2011 then? No age excuse for Dirk Nowitzki. No excuse for Dirk Nowitzki. Even though they were mocking him. Even though guys had injuries, right? Tyson Chandler was injured. Some of these guys were injured. Not Sean Marion. Caron Butler went down with injury. But Dirk Nowitzki stepped up. Jason Kidd stepped up. And these guys were old, man. There's no excuses. The age didn't matter then. It only matters when Michael Jordan wins. The teams that he beat were old. He beat a lot of young teams, too. A lot of really young teams. If you look at the first three-peat, what you'll notice, as far as, it's all about the age, guys. To me, this age is not important, but this is what I'm exposing here, and this is why it's not a relevant excuse, the age. We all know that this age stuff is nonsense. We never talked about this stuff like this, made excuses. But if you look at the first three-peat, guys, what you'll notice is what I've always told you guys, what? The Bulls were not supposed to be the next team up. It was supposed to be the Cleveland Cavaliers and possibly the New York Knicks. Possibly. So when you look at the ages of the teams in 1991, right, the Eastern Conference Finals, right, yeah, we got the Pistons. The Bulls were a little bit younger than the Pistons. But if you look at the very next season, when they played the Cleveland Cavaliers in the Eastern Conference Finals, if you look at the ages of both of those teams, they're pretty much identical. They're both like 28 average age or whatever it is. They're pretty much identical. And if you look at the average age of the New York Knicks the next year when they played them in the Eastern Conference Finals, they're pretty much identical ages. And what that's showing you guys, especially when it relates to the Cleveland Cavaliers, is that the players that the Cleveland Cavaliers had on their roster, they were all very similar ages to a lot of the Bulls players. And their players were developed faster. They came in more ready to play. Guys like Craig Elo, Mark Price, Brad Daugherty. And then they had veterans like a Larry Nance, right? And you had guys like a young Ron Harper. When you look at these guys, they came in more prepared than a Scottie Pippen, a Horace Grant, where Michael Jordan had to wait a year or two for these guys to develop, or so they thought. That was what happened in 1989. Michael Jordan raising the level of play, right? Averaging, 45 points a game in that series and leading them to the victory. They were not prepared, though, as far as like what you would have thought on paper. The Cavs were a better team, because their players were more further along than Mark Price's, the Brad Daugherty's, Ron Harper, Craig Elo, Larry Nance. They had veterans, Hot Rod Williams. You had guys, right? You had a great coach in Lenny Wilkins. So the Bulls were not supposed to be the next team up. They were all similar ages. All these guys, like I said, were similar. The teams were similar. It wasn't like this team was old and they were phasing out and the Bulls came. No, that's not what happened. Once again, it was the Bulls superseding teams like the Cleveland Cavaliers and the New York Knicks. And once again, pushing the Pistons out. The Pistons were trying to repeat for a third time. And the Bulls pushed them out of there. And that's the facts, guys. That's how it happened. So once again, what you know is, like I said, the ages of those teams in the first three-peat is that they were all similar. And look at the second three-peat. The Bulls were way older than all the teams that they played in the Eastern Conference Finals and in the NBA Finals. They were the older team, guys, by years. Age ain't excuse, man. You just gotta go out there and get it done. Go out there and give that effort. Make no excuses. Oh, LeBron James was too young. Michael Jordan, who he beat? They were old. This guy was old. This guy was old. This guy was that. This the blah, 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 blah. Only for the Michael Jordan, right? Once again, Michael Jordan being held to the highest standard in NBA's history. Only age matters for Michael Jordan and everyone he went against. Michael Jordan wasn't old in the second three-peat. None of these other teams could be in the Orlando Magic, the Miami Heat. None of these other teams that were up and coming. The Atlanta Hawks in the late 90s. The New York Knicks in the late 90s. The Miami Heat in the late 90s. The Indiana Pacers. None of these teams could beat Michael Jordan's Bulls when they were on fumes, grinding through all these championship runs. Age ain't excuse. It's never an excuse for Michael Jordan and the Bulls, man. They went out there and they got it done. You guys know the deal, man. I'll catch you guys on the next one.